was great. You ready to go?
Yes.
We will begin our board meeting, and we will ask Barbara to call the roll.
We have Commissioners Berard, Fleming, Funderburg, Levine, and Noonan present.
Thank you. This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. In terms of opening remarks by the President, I have none. So I move to a report or briefing by the interim GM. Mr. Interim GM.
This week,
This is a musical chairs here.
it's like I'm in a Where's Waldo episode. So, just real briefly, we talked last time about the water conditions in the state of California, and just wanted to make sure that I keep bringing you up to date on this issue. We did have a lot of snow, appeared to be a lot of snow in the Eastern Sierra last week. It did bring us up a few inches. We're still running roughly a third of where we should be this time of year. So although it was a great improvement, it's still we're better than the worst year on record, but not by a whole lot. And so at this rate, we're expecting that aqueduct deliveries would probably be on the order of about half of what we had last year. So this is a dire situation for us, and it's very similar to the situation that's facing the rest of the state. We are working with the Metropolitan Water District. They have received a zero allocation from the State Water Project, and so they'll be taking water out of storage, and there's a question, of course, is how much to drink this year versus how much to save for next year if we have repeated dry years. So there's a lot going on in the water industry with the major water providers, including ourselves, as to how we're going to get by in the future. But I did want to let you know that that things are improved, but definitely not anywhere close to where we want to be. And hopefully we'll have some more snow before the season ends. And also, Mr. Wiggs had a brief item he'd like to mention on issue with the ISO last week.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I have been trying to get, my voice okay on this, but I'm trying to get caught up, obviously, the last couple of weeks. I have a ways to go, but it's nice to be back. One item I simply mentioned, because I think everybody did a great job on this. February 6th, I think it was, ISO declared emergency, and because they were curtailing natural gas, I was convinced someone was just trying to have the lights go out my first weekend while I was back, but it was an emergency. And the point was, because of the drought, we couldn't run hydro, and then we had gas curtailment because of the cold weather back east. So this kind of unintended consequences, we were forced to shut down a couple of units. We gave a notice to our interruptible customers in case we needed to cut them off. We did not have to. We ended up purchasing power, but the whole process worked just as you would hope it would work. Everybody was advised. We gave the mayor notice. It did make the press down south, but not out here. So I think that was a good test for us. We'll have more of these as we make this transition, and some more unexpected things happen as we rely on natural gas more. But that worked well. I want to commend our staff and let you know that I thought that worked very well. Otherwise, I'm trying to get settled in and caught up, and anytime anybody needs something, please call me.
We will not hesitate to do that.
I know you have not, so that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have comments or requests from other commissioners relating to LADWP operations?
I did.
Okay.
A couple things. One, I'd like to thank DWP staff. I received an inquiry from one of the large customers about resolving billing issues, and the staff really got on it. The customer was very pleased. One thing that the customer passed along, and he was going to send something to Mr. McDaniel, was that he hasn't been surveyed about what his satisfaction is with the service. And I mean customers that are paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to millions of dollars per month for electric. So that's just something that I look forward to seeing at some point. Some degree of customer satisfaction service from the from the commercial end of things, as to our commercial customers. And I'd just like to ask if somebody from the power group can follow up in a couple months on survey, whether we've done surveys or anything of our commercial users. The other thing is 2 meetings ago, we voted on a large contract for Owens remediation, and that contract was subject to some letter from the Fish and Game being removed, and that was discussed in open session. And I just wanted to get a status on whether that contract was going forward on Owens, because we hadn't talked about it in open session, or maybe I missed it when we were doing the Ron's thing. So because somebody actually asked me about that, whether that contract in December for over $200 million was actually being executed, because we left it open, I think. Those are the 2 things.
Can I respond to that real quickly?
Yeah, please.
Yes, actually, we had an issue with the Fish and Wildlife permit. The issue was resolved to our satisfaction, as the permit conditions were what we had expected, and this was a 1,600 permit. And so just before his last day, Mr. Nichols was able to authorize that contract, which was according to the board's direction, and they did break ground, so they are working currently.
Thanks, that's it.
Other questions, comments by commissioners? Do we have any public comment, Barbara, at this point?
Not for item 4, no.
Okay. Ratepayer advocate.
I've been pleased to meet a number of the new members of the management team in the last couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to additional meetings with them. And I have had, I've been very pleased with substantially improved cooperation. Thank you very much.
We move to the consent agenda, which is very short. I wonder if anybody would like to make it shorter by removing items 6 or 7 or 8 from the consent agenda.
7.
7.
Okay, 7 is removed. Is there a motion to approve items 6, approval of the minutes, and 8, water supply assessment for the Exposition Corridor Transit Neighborhood Plan Project?
I'll move.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. And we move to item 7. Mojave Generating Station 2014 Maintenance and Administrative Budget. Mr. Fleming, do you want to begin by raising whatever question caused you to remove it from the agenda, from the consent agenda?
Sure. There were just a couple quick questions about how many years we're obligated to keep doing this maintenance, and then what's the eventual kind of long-term plan? I mean, the dollar amount isn't that great, but it's just how long are we obligated to do this, and what are our annual costs going to be in all these out years?
Well, we're a current owner, so until we sell our portion of that site, we would be expected to continue to make these payments. They have been decreasing over time. Right now, there's no ongoing activities at the site, and all of the participants are trying to decide, what do we do with this piece of land? So we've recently heard that Edison is potentially putting their piece up for sale. So we'll probably have more discussions on this subject as we move forward.
And that's something that we don't have to get into the minutiae of it today, but if that's something obviously we would like to do as well, right? We don't need this anymore. If Edison is going to sell, wouldn't we like to get rid of ours as well?
Well, I think this site has valuable transmission access, and it's located close to potential renewable projects. So that's the main attraction to this site for us today.
Okay. All right, but so we have no there's no plan to give us that says 5 years from now, we won't either own this or we'll own it in a different fashion or we'll be paying X amount of money. So every year we'll be having this conversation, at least for the time being.
Yes, and that's true.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Barad?
Yeah, I'd like to continue what Commissioner Fleming said. Decommissioned means what?
They tore down all of the facilities at the site, so all of the structures have been removed, all the buildings have been removed, and what remains there's some groundwater wells that they're still monitoring. They're closing some of those wells. They have security at the site, but it's a very small operation.
Okay, so to follow up, if it's a valuable site, as you described, then are we trying to sell it? What are we doing to try to sell it?
Well,
or to hold on to it, or what?
We're looking with all of the co-owners at what the future plans are of that site, and we'll probably have something to report to you in the next few months on that process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments on item 7? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
It's passed. Thank you. Okay, we move to the regular agenda, item number 9, amendment number 1 to contracts number 415A, 416B, 415C, 415D, and 415E for electrical materials and supplies. These are 5 amendments to cooperative agreements with the General Services Department. These amendments will increase the total expenditure limit from $15,002 to $33,998,372, an addition of 2 one-year options.
Good morning. My name is Gwendolyn Williams. I'm the Director of Supply Chain Services.
Bassam Abu Shakra, Power System Engineering.
And we're here this morning to present to you item number 9, which is recommending award of contracts 415A through 415E for electrical materials and supplies. In front of you is a chart that we developed to help explain how this contract functions. The red section represents a lot of the items that you normally see before you for items that we are purchasing, like transformers and pad mount transformers and cable and wire, which amounts to about 96%. And this is of the $247 million worth of power supplies that we buy. The small blue sliver represents these 415A through E contracts, which represent kind of our just-in-time contracts. So this is material that we don't keep it in our inventory because we don't have detailed plans for its usage. So we have these 5 contracts in place that were competitively bid through the City of Los Angeles, so that when we need something because of an emergency or because we didn't know about the need, we can go to these contracts faster. They're already in place. When they're greater than $3,000, they bid them competitively between all 5 of them, and we're able to obtain the equipment within 1 to 2 days.
Questions?
I think it would be helpful to share with the public some of the notes that we had discussed about these discounts being comparable to our own procurement process, and also how you go about testing to ensure the pricing is competitive. I think the public would appreciate knowing that we are getting a good deal on these supplies.
Like Gwen mentioned, for larger contracts that we normally stock and we have material codes, we bring in front of you to the board these 3-year contracts or one-time spot purchase contracts. A lot of the material that we use for this, and I have a general list, it's items that we don't stock. Some lighting, some motor starters, some specialty wires. So last year what we did is we tried to do a comparison. We went out to bid to the general public to see how much pricing do we get compared to the pricing that we're getting on this contract, and it came out very favorable. And I'd like to add that this is a contract that we worked with the General Services Department, and because we buy utility-type electrical materials. So we were a partner to develop this contract, and it was competitively bid. And currently, we're piggybacking, and also the Los Angeles World Airport, and also the Los Angeles Port piggyback on these contracts. So all City of Los Angeles major department use this type of contract.
Other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I move.
Is there a second?
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
It is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We move to item number 10, the LADWP feed-in tariff program modifications for 2014. This item was deferred from the last board meeting.
And
Did you want to hear the public speakers first? Or?
Yeah, apparently we have quite a number of speakers for this item, so maybe we should hear from them first. So Barbara, how many do we have? 13?
Yes, 13.
Okay, so in light of the fact that we have 13 speakers, I'd encourage you to be succinct and not feel you need to repeat things that others have said. But go ahead and call the 13.
Okay, the first speaker is Daryl Gale.
You don't have to worry about repeating things others have said, seeing as no one has said anything.
Okay, hi. I'm Daryl Gale, and I live downtown in a solar apartment. And a few weeks ago, I went with the Sierra Club and Environment California to visit another apartment from my landlord has 3 solar apartments. So we went up on the roof, and we had Councilman Weezer with us. And we all looked around while we were up on the roof, and we inspected the, solar apparatus. And we looked around at the downtown buildings, there's a dearth of solar panels on them. And of course, not everybody can get into the feed-in tariff program, but everybody can get into net metering, and everybody can do their part for the environment. And even Councilman Weezer was impressed by the fact that there was not enough solar in our city. And it's very important that we think about what's going on right now. We're having this horrible drought. It seems like there's no more winter. We're going to have maybe 9 or 10 months of summer. We could really utilize solar. It's not even an option. It's a necessity. We're this large city and county, and we've got sun all the time. So I'd like to just urge all the people in positions to make decisions to seriously consider going into solar as much as possible and be able to reap the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Rosemary Jenkins.
Hello, I'm Rosemary Jenkins. I chair the Northeast Valley Green Alliance, and I'm also affiliated with Lane and Sierra Club Beyond Coal. I do live in Granada Hills and San Fernando Valley, and I know Ms. Broad is from the valley, and we're all well aware of just how hot it gets in the summertime, let alone in other times of the year when it's unusually warm. I had the opportunity just a few weeks ago to go to an event in Chatsworth where the building has over 2,000 panels of solar, and it was so impressive. Mitch Englander, who is my city council member, was there, and he made a point of saying that he's the only city council member whose home is totally solar, and he was able to take advantage of the rebates to install it in the first place, and now has to pay zero on his DWP bills as they come out as a result of the solar. Now, in the Northeast Valley, which often gets short shrift, I think, from the rest of the city, There are so many places, so many abandoned warehouses, other lots that can use new buildings. Bringing in solar, it can not only be a boost to the community economically, but of course, you know, it's going to add to jobs, the underemployed, the unemployed. They're training for solar, and we're asking that you support the maintenance of the feed-in tariff program as well as the eventual expansion. And another thing to keep in mind is the fact that so many of the solar panels are made maybe in China or elsewhere outside of the country, and there's a huge carbon footprint having the manufacturing over there and then bringing it here when we could have solar manufacturing right here and as I said, to boost our economy, to improve employment, and to have a healthier climate. I know in the San Fernando Valley, the only time we ever get to see the mountains is when it rains, because even today when I was driving in, there's so much overcast from the pollution that you really can't. So solar is certainly a way to go, and we urge you to support the feed-in tariff program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is William Schenerick.
Yeah, I have a stack of analysis. Okay, I was here on February 4th, and it seemed like I was the only one here. Maybe I missed that. I recommend DWP vote no on this because of the risk of failure. Once the investment tax credits and possible upfront payments are gone, the approximately 19 cents a kilowatt hour payments to merchant photovoltaic generators may be insufficient to prevent merchant photovoltaic financial failure. Receivers may tear down systems, bankruptcy receivers may tear down systems and allow land reallocation. Germany is now paying 17 cents a kilowatt hour, and a fifth of their windmills have already gone broke.
Okay, the next speaker is Rishi Kapita.
Good morning, my name is Rishi Kapadia. I'm here from TRK Development. We're a local commercial real estate developer. And as Rosemary previously described, we are the first, we own a feed-in tariff project. We're the first large project interconnected. We had our opening event a few weeks ago, and Councilman Mitchell Englander was kind enough to grace us with his presence. So just to summarize, I think that this is a great program. This could be a great boon for the city of Los Angeles and really put it on the map for something very unique. One thing that I came across I'd like to highlight is, although these solar panels are made typically overseas, many of the components that are used for these rooftop systems are made locally. The racking, the wiring, the bolts. So for every megawatt, there's about $700,000 worth of materials that are produced locally here in Los Angeles. And that could be a great benefit to the manufacturing base, especially for aerospace industry jobs that have left over the last 10 years. So thank you very much, and thank you for expanding FIT. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Kent Minalt.
Hi, I'm Kent Minot. I work with Sierra Club on the Beyond Coal campaign. I work as a volunteer. LA is getting off coal, as I'm sure you know. Angelenos are proud that last year the necessary contracts and agreements were signed to stop bringing coal-fired electricity into the city and bring us off coal by 2025. The question this year is what we're going to replace it with citizens increasingly concerned about fracking. The Sierra Club wants to make sure that the utility doesn't get locked into using too much gas, which can make us all vulnerable to price swings. The feed-in tariff creates a multiple win for the city. It's a great way to replace the dirty coal-fired electricity of the past, and it also keeps ratepayers' money circulating in the city rather than sending it to out-of-state coal companies. It creates well-paying jobs, mostly in areas where they're needed the most, and it helps meet the state-mandated renewable targets as well. And also remember one thing. Renewables are a great way to ensure reliability. Commissioner just mentioned that both gas and hydro had reliability issues recently, and in Texas during the polar vortex, wind power is what kept the lights on when cooling systems couldn't operate because of the low temperatures. So let's keep the FIT going ahead and expand it when we get the chance. Thanks so much.
The next speaker is Ronnie Solman.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Solman. I'm a retired teacher. I'm also with LA Beyond Coal. I'm really excited about the prospect of a sustainable solar-powered city that could be here in Los Angeles. I know that it's starting slow, but I think we're on a trajectory to expand. And I'm very excited about your support for the FIT and for its expansion. I'm optimistic that you will support it. Here at a time when so many citizens, decry government and its policies, they can't get anything done and they can't do anything right. Here in LA, we can shine as a city, making huge progress in reducing our carbon footprint and saving money and ourselves ultimately at the same time. So I urge you to support the continuation and the expansion of the FIT, and I agree with former speakers who spoke in support of it. And I just want to share that moment that Darrell Gale mentioned, because I was there at that group on the rooftop of the old St. George Hotel in downtown with my council member Weisar, because I'm a resident of CD 14. And when we were looking out over those black tar rooftops, just soaking in the sun and not using the energy that's possible, it just made us see that it could be different and that it could be really, really great to have our city depend more and more on renewable energy. And you're in the position of power where you can make that happen. So I support that for a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Wendy Lagasse.
I'm a citizen also. I'm a resident of Highland Park nearby here, and as we look out the window today, we can see why we need these rooftop panels and the FIT. I'm also a citizen that's freaking out about the climate change that's going on and the lack of water that you were talking about. Without water, LA is just not going to exist anymore. And I'm just hysterical because if this climate change continues, what will we do? So I'm encouraging you to expand the FIT. Thanks.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jenna Losh.
Good morning. My name is Jenna Losh, and on behalf of Global Green USA, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today in support of the Feed and Tariff Program. Global Green is a nonprofit environmental organization focused on smart solutions to climate change. We are also a part of the LA Clean Energy Coalition, a group of environmental and business organizations that also supports the FIT program. Global Green has been a staunch advocate of the FIT program during its development and implementation, as it is a real opportunity to lessen our dependence on fossil fuels and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, all while also creating jobs and developing a local market for solar energy. We are very pleased to say that so far the program is succeeding in these goals, and we are excited to see the overwhelming response to the initial allocations. The FIT program is creating hundreds of job years that cannot be exported out of California and millions of dollars in direct investment to the city of Los Angeles, in addition to the clean, renewable energy that will be delivered to LADWP customers. In particular, Global Green is excited that the FIT program is filling a market gap by allowing multifamily apartment buildings to participate, including those in lower-income communities. LA and the DWP are setting an example for the nation with this Feed and Tariff program. Global Green supports the extension and expansion of this program in the coming years. We hope we can help in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Elizabeth Rollins.
Thank you for listening to our comments. My company is Absolutely Solar. We are solar developers incorporated in Los Angeles in 1982. In the spirit of cooperation and pragmatism, I present some ideas to modify the existing feed-in tariff program. We support many of the points the LABC has argued for the feed-in tariff program, especially adjusting the pricing structure. If we want to encourage small business owners to be able to participate, we have to allow that it costs more to scale systems smaller. We agree with the LABC's suggestion that if a project doesn't get picked in the lottery, it should be entitled to roll over into the next tranche automatically. But we ask for something more as well. When the projects don't get built and they fall out, the projects on that same tranche's waiting list should step up and be included. In this way, all the reserved kilowatts for that tranche will retain the price at which they were originally reserved. They'll be used, not forfeited. Finally, we ask for consideration of a modified procedure as well. When new guidelines are being created, we would like a 14-day period to comment. After guidelines have been adopted, we ask for a 21-day period in which we may cure our prepared applications. Absolutely Solar believes that success in this program cannot be qualified by saying we are oversubscribed, but by measuring how many kilowatts of renewable energy are fed into the grid. The ratepayers have expressed the will to support renewable energy, and we stand behind the merits of distributed generation as an excellent way to strengthen our infrastructure and to fulfill the intentions of the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Laura Mack.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Mack. I'm visiting from the Pacific Palisades Community Council today. And I really want to speak briefly to ratepayer support issues. Over the last 6 months, I've had the opportunity to visit many, possibly 20 or 30 different neighborhood councils across the city. And I can tell you that there is a wide support for this program. And in fact, a number of councils have passed formal motions in support of expanding the program, which I would urge you at this time. I also want to remind you of a survey that I believe DWP commissioned in 2012 of 400 ratepayers, in which the overwhelming majority, I think 81%, said they wanted DWP to invest more, not less, in local rooftop solar programs, not just desert projects, and that the majority of those, 57%, would be willing to pay up to $1 more a month for that investment. And I believe, according to DWP analysis, the actual cost is somewhere between 2 and 4 cents per month. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Alex Turk.
Good morning. My name is Alex Turk, and I am representing the UCLA Luskin Center for Innovation. We recently released a report, as of this morning actually, evaluating the first 2 tranches of the feed-in tariff, 100 megawatt feed-in tariff. We spoke with solar developers, property owners, and program administrators, and overall the feedback has been positive, especially concerning the utility support during the process. That's a testament to Ann Wood and her team at the feed-in tariff program. As expected, LADWP is using this 100 megawatts as kind of a learning process and are actively improving the program based on feedback from participants. The jobs are real, the direct investment is real, and the greenhouse gas avoidance is very real. So I urge you to continue to show your support for an expanded feed-in tariff program.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Joe McLaughlin.
Good morning. My name is Joe McLaughlin. I'm a retired teacher and assistant principal from the Los Angeles Unified School District. I live in Echo Park. I'm currently working for the Alliance to Save Energy and their local program, which is called Power Save Schools. I work with 16 schools in the Arcadia, El Monte, and Los Angeles Unified School District. A colleague of mine also works with 15 schools in the Department of Water and Power portion of the LA Unified School District. We teach our students how to save energy at their school sites. And currently, the schools that I represent that are in the Los Angeles Unified School District are averaging 15.2% savings over their initial energy estimates from a year ago. That represents money saving for the school. It represents saving of reducing the carbon footprint of those schools. We also teach our students about the energy mix that comes into Los Angeles. And when we show them the pie chart, which has the different sources of energy, and they see the small wedge that's for renewables, they ask us, why is that so small, if those are really the most beneficial sources of energy that we can use? And we tell them that we're working on increasing the solar capacity and the other renewables. And so the expansion of the FIT program is something that they are counting on us to do. They rely on us to do the right thing about that, because they see that the future of energy for Los Angeles and the economic future of Los Angeles is with those renewable sources. So please, let's renew the FIT and increase it. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Jorge Madrid.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jorge Madrid, and I work at the Environmental Defense Fund. I'm also a homegrown guy from Lincoln Heights. And today, in the spirit of not repeating comments, although there's been some excellent ones, I want to talk about leadership. Specifically, EDF's priority is to ensure that California retains its leadership in not only fighting climate change, but also in the deployment of clean energy as both a way to reduce greenhouse gases and also to reduce vulnerability, especially in some of the places that we know are going to be the hardest hit by climate change. And in doing so, we are here to support our allies from the LA Clean Energy Coalition, and too numerous to name, but includes a very diverse coalition of academic, business, and NGO partners who have been working on this for a long time, and we think are providing some very significant results. And sort of as a personal anecdote, I spent most of my early career in Washington, D.C., and one of the things that I learned there was that all of the innovation and the leadership was not going to come from the top down. It was coming from the cities. As a lifelong resident of Los Angeles, I'm very proud that the city and the board has taken such a phenomenal leadership place in the deployment of more clean energy, and specifically been very thoughtful about the jobs and the equity conversation, which has been a very strong part of that. So again, here in support and encourage the board to continue that leadership. And with my final remaining moments, I'm going to do a quick commercial for our new report, which has done some GIS mapping of the rooftop solar potential in Los Angeles, working with the UCLA Luskin Center. And the headline findings is that capturing just 5% of the rooftop solar here in LA City can create about 7,000 jobs and eliminate about 300,000 metric tons of carbon each year. edf.org/LA Clean Energy is the website. Pretty easy to remember, but I'm happy to send the board a copy of the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Tony Wilkinson.
Tony Wilkinson, Chair of the Neighborhood Council DWP MOU Oversight Committee. And I'd like to say, second all of the comments made about neighborhood councils and people that I meet in general in support of rooftop solar in basin. There's a tremendous amount of public support for it. And as a matter of fact, I think the ratepayer supports this. The issue is simply that if we want to see solar rooftop in the basin, let's see as much as we can. And let's not, as mentioned, this is a learning experience, let's not overpay for an extended period of time, because we might be able, if we were to pay just a little bit less, to get even more rooftop solar. So I think that everyone is in support of this program, but as the learning experience, it's up to the board and the department to learn what the actual price point needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the last card.
Okay, Mr. Webster.
My name is Mike Webster. I am Assistant Director of our Power System Planning and Development. And over the last 6 to 8 months, we have been listening to customers. We've been looking internally as well to figure out how we could improve the feed-in tariff program process. And so what we have before you today is our effort to streamline the feed-in tariff process with some key changes. And that is the only reason we're here, is to make the program better as we reopen the third tranche. On Wood, on my right, she manages all the solar programs, and she'll go over some of the details of those process improvements we're recommending to the board today.
Yes, so the 4 main ones that I want to talk about is defining the capacity of these solar generators. Basically, we want to be in line with the California Energy Commission with how they define the AC rating of the solar system. Because after all, the CEC is who we will ultimately register our projects for and receive renewable energy credits for them. And then the second point is we've worked with over 120 active applications, and part of the delays were deficiencies from the applicants. So we want to instill a 10 business day deadline for them to cure the deficiencies. That way we can move projects along. The third one is the assignment of the actual contracts themselves. We were seeing several applicants needing clarifications and provisions on how to go about assigning these projects, and that will help them with financing. And the fourth one is the reapplication. As you know, the set pricing program is 100 megawatts, and we are going to roll it out into 520 megawatt allocations. And what we want to do is, when the program is oversubscribed, the people who are waiting on the wait list do not have to reapply again for the second one. They just have to fill out this one application form to show us that they're interested, even though the price has dropped another penny.
Good, thank you. Commissioners have any comments or questions?
I have an additional presentation on components of this program.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
People have been saying a lot of things about feed-in tariff programs that aren't really about a feed-in tariff program. And I think it would help if I spent a couple minutes reviewing the full range of programs common in California, so you can understand what is feed-in tariff and what isn't, and then where LA stands in this process. And then second point is what's before the Commission today. It's approval of administrative amendments for DWP's feed-in tariff, and they're good amendments. The elephant in the room is the DWP feed-in tariff prices, which are out of date and fixed. What are the next steps? We can do nothing, and the program will move ahead with these amendments, and the prices won't get fixed. Or we can fix it and get more solar for our money. Let me walk through this. The size range of programs that are solar related, often including other technologies, are net metering, which is a retail program. It's inside the customer site. The typical residential system is 5 kilowatts. Commercial systems are limited at a cap of 1,000 kilowatts or 1 megawatt. And this operates by bill reduction. Now, excess sales have not been allowed beyond netting against your use, but they are now allowed by AB 327, although not required. AB 327 applies to every public and investor-owned utility in the state, except for ones that sell water and power and have over 750,000 customers. Just us. But that gives us an opportunity to design a program that's more customized for us. DWP now has about 100 megawatts of net metering. It's based almost entirely on projects that have gone through the credit program. We can broaden that to allow people to not require have credits. PG&E, for comparison, PG&E has about 3.5 times as many customers as we do, but they have 10 times as much feed-in tariff, or excuse me, net metering projects. The feed-in tariff is a wholesale program. When things are put on buildings, the power is not going to that building. That power is being sold to the utility. If it's on an apartment, it's being sold to the utility. It's not going to that apartment. The size range is up to 3,000 kilowatts. DWP paid 16 cents in the last 20 megawatt round of the feed-in tariff. PG&E, Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric did a first round of a revised feed-in tariff at 8.923 cents. In other words, under 9 cents. It was oversubscribed for PG&E and Edison in solar-related categories, and that price by a standard PUC process decreased for the second round to 8.5 cents a kilowatt hour. DWP now has about 40 megawatts. The investor-owned utilities pre-AB 32 already had about 250 megawatts with an additional 238 megawatts planned through this new program. So our program relative to our scale is outsized relative to our scale. The renewable auction is for the next size up. That's projects 3,000 kilowatts to 20,000 kilowatts or 20 megawatts. The pricing for those, based on most recent auction results, is below 8 cents. There are 737 megawatts signed, 51 megawatts online for those programs. And then finally, there are solicitations for large projects, custom contracts. That starts at about 20,000 kilowatts and goes up. We've done solar projects of 300 megawatts or 300,000 kilowatts, and larger programs or projects are out there. The market price for large-scale solar projects is in the 6 to 7 cent range. Am I about right, Mike?
That is correct. That is what we're seeing.
It's estimated that investor-owned utilities have over 7,000 megawatts of renewable power. A growing percentage of that is solar because of the recent technology improvements and cost reductions for solar. How did the feed-in tariff programs compare? In short, our next planned tier is 15 cents, where the other utilities have been oversubscribed at 8.9 cents and are moving down for PG&E and Edison to 8.5 cents. San Diego is still at 8.9 cents. Our program rounds are 6 months apart in larger individual tranches of 20 megawatts. The other utilities are in smaller tranches, but every 2 months. And our remaining program is 60 megawatts. We've already done 40. And then the other utility programs are listed across the bottom. PG&E and Edison at about 100 megawatts each. And San Diego Gas and Electric, who's about our size, is 28 megawatts. What's before the Commission today? DWP staff has proposed changes to their process in the standard feed-in tariff contract. We support those changes. We think they've done a good job on those changes. The feed-in tariff pricing for the next round is still far above current market prices. This is a $500 million solicitation without competition, without competitive or market-based pricing, and we could buy 2/3 more solar at the same cost. Let's break that down, and those are big numbers. It's a big issue. The 2 tranches that have already occurred in February 2013 and under direction from the prior commission in July 2013. Those made commitments over a 20-year term of $123 million and $115 million. The next tranche, which is scheduled to occur in the next few weeks, it would be a commitment of $108 million at 15 cents. The remaining, DWP does have another FIT program, the FIT 50 program, that's received bids for 50 megawatts in one batch. The average price in those bids has been released publicly, and that was about 12.5 cents per kilowatt hour. But that's the average of the bids, not the best 50 of those bids. I expect the final pricing when those contracts are negotiated will be lower, substantially lower than 12.5 cents. And then we have the PG&E and SCE experience of getting fully subscribed at 8.9 cents. And at the new price of 8.5, that's a little more than half the price we paid in FIT programs today. What should we do? Purchasing over $500 million in power supplies, or the $300 million remaining, without competitive bidding or a very transparent market price is imprudent, unreasonable, and not in conformance with industry practices of this scale in California. We shouldn't do it. The record of last year's PG&E, Edison, SDG&E, and DWP competitive solicitations demonstrates the high and unnecessary cost of continuing this experimental approach. What do? We do nothing today other than change the amendments on the contract. It means we'd be buying another 15 megawatts or another 20 megawatts at 15 cents. And in the process, wasting $120 million of the $300 million remaining budget for the 60 megawatts remaining in solicitations. We could defer and revise the program, but this creates upheaval for local solar installers. Or we can get more money, more solar for our money faster, a FIT 100 plus. We can match the state's FIT pricing in the next round and increase the solicitation size, so we're spending the same amount of money and move ahead with no delay. If we take the PUC-approved market index price of 8.5 cents for solar technologies and put that into solicitation, we can increase this next round of 20 megawatts by 15 megawatts to 35 megawatts. This commits the same amount of funds intended, but increases the amount of solar, keeps the same job impact or larger, and has a better greenhouse gas benefit. So more solar, less money.
Questions or comments to either the ratepayer advocate or the commission, the DWP staff?
I had some questions. I actually had written down in my notes before Dr. Pickle came up, what is the ratepayer subsidy total? And how much are the ratepayers paying to subsidize the FIT program per year?
So when we were launching the program, what we compared the feed-in tariff to is what it would cost us to install a bundle of renewables. And at the time, it was 12 cents for a bundled renewable. And so with each tier, since we're dropping down, the average of the whole program is 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So we're paying 3 cents per kilowatt hour over. So the net effect of that was going to be $8 million a year to support the feed-in tariff program the way it's set up right now. And so if we were to reduce the last 60 megawatts by every penny that you reduce, that equates to about 2 cents a month. But when we were rolling out this program, we realized what other programs were happening with the other utilities. The main thing that we were concerned with is we wanted a program where solar gets installed, and we recognized that solar inside our city is much different from other utilities. So the programs that we see up there, most of their applications were projects over a megawatt. On average, ours we are seeing at 300 kilowatts. So that's the big difference. Yes, it's more, but that's because our systems are smaller. So the ultimate decision is, do you want them to get installed or not?
So it's $8 million a year is what you're saying? And
Yes.
it'll be more than that because we'll have more installed capacity, or is it $8 million a year this year?
$8 million a year for the whole entire program as we have planned it out, with an average pricing of 15 cents per kilowatt hour.
Dr. Pickle, did you have a response to that?
Yes, one, that was the pricing at that time. Market prices have dropped faster. And we can design the whole program to capture redesign the whole program to capture smaller projects, but smaller projects are often better captured by by net metering. So I think we're better to work on an improved net metering program to capture the smaller projects. At the same time, we are still substantially overpaying. We can say $8 million a year, but multiply that by 20. That's $160 million, but that was when market prices were thought to be 12 cents. We're seeing the market at 8.5 cents now.
Is there any benefit of having this distributed generation versus utility that justifies the delta between 15 and 6 cents a kilowatt hour?
Yes.
So part of our integrated resource planning process was really to look at reliability, and part of the policies that we've implemented is geographic diversity. We found this true in our wind projects, where wind in the Pacific Northwest may not be blowing, but it is blowing in Utah. Solar works the same way. So geographic diversity related to solar is an important concept for us. Also, distributed generation does help us in the sense that we don't have to use our transmission system. We can repurpose transmission to do other things like bring in geothermal or other projects. So some degree of distributed generation is very important for our comprehensive integrated resource plan.
And is there any effort being made in I haven't read the rules, I have to admit, I haven't read the details of them, but is there any effort being made in terms of the grid capacity and grid load and the transmission issues that we have to spread things out? And I have one other question is there significant outreach being made to the NGO community, like Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs, others that could really, benefit from, not having significant electric bills? Is there any special, and I'm not talking about NGOs that have real estate, developer-owned real estate, and they're leasing the land. I'm talking about NGOs like many Boys and Girls Clubs that own their land. They have lots of roof space. They may not have been looped into this discussion or been approached, but has there been any special outreach to those? I'm particularly interested in some of the less affluent communities in our city that don't get as much attention.
Okay, so the first question was really related to how are we really looking at distributed generation and studying that to make sure we can do it correctly and with the right level of reliability. Did I understand that correctly? So there's 3 studies that the department is embarking on. 2 are very close to being finished. One, we were looking at the stability of the transmission grid as related to how much solar can we put on our transmission grid and make sure the transmission grid stays strong, and we introduce voltage instabilities, and what were those numbers. That study is being finalized. The second area is how can we basically match our generation and load, and how much solar can we integrate into the system and not be in a situation where we have too much solar generation where you have to curtail it, sell it at a 0 price or negative price, or do something extreme with it. So what level is that? That study is getting close to conclusion. And the third is on the distributed side. That's a study we do tend to start. We plan to bring in some expert consultants in this area to really study on a distribution level, how much solar can we put onto the system without impacting a particular, for example, a distributing station? And what makes sense, and what technologies can we deploy? That'll take over the course of maybe 6 to 8 months to kind of figure that out. So we wanted to cover the entire gamut, so when we set our integrated resource plan, we did it with some firm engineering sound judgment. The second question was related to outreach. Our primary outreach today is to be working with the developers, and so we are hopeful that they're reaching out to the best properties in order to install the feed-in tariff program. Our staff has not done direct outreach with some of the organizations that you've talked to. But I know Los Angeles Business Council, they're very active in outreach. They're holding workshops, they're bringing in groups of developers and community groups to talk about the feed-in tariff program, and so they've been fairly effective in bringing in these community-type people to learn about the program, and many times they invite us to participate in those programs as guest lecturers or speakers to explain the program to those customer groups.
Thank you. I mean, I hear you, and that you can't. It's the program's set up where we as DWP, we're not in direct contact necessarily with the customer, with these developers or putting forward the projects. But I would encourage staff to continue to reach out to some of these NGOs. I mean, they are getting clobbered by their budgets, and they're just recovering from the economic downturn, and they do really good for their communities. They're the front line of dealing with gang violence, teenage pregnancy, and HIV/AIDS, and a number of other issues that are plaguing some communities that a lot of people in this room never have to touch or come in contact with. And so I would just encourage you to encourage your developers and people on this list that at least that's a priority from my standpoint. And the last thing is do you have a response to Dr. Pickle's FIT 100 plus proposal, or do you have any thoughts on it?
We're not prepared to respond to Dr. Pickle's presentation. It's the first time we've seen it. It is something that we could look at if the board directed us to do so.
I would like that. And Dr. Pickle, do you have any response to the other?
Yes, on pricing and the importance of diversity versus other components, net metering and feed-in tariffs, as shown on this slide, are really local, in-basin, near-the-load programs. The renewable auction mechanism and solicitations are often out-of-basin. Those are large projects. DWP has been diversifying before then. For that, they could probably add a renewable auction type process for larger entities, for larger projects, and their net metering program could be expanded. PG&E at 1,000 megawatts, that's almost, plus adding the feed-in tariff, 100 megawatts they have, that is still under 4% of their load, and they're managing that. So we could expand in basin. The challenge is at what price? And my number one concern is we're buying $300 million worth of power without a competitive process, without a bid process, something that's not a competitive price. So we can argue the details of the pricing. My number one concern is we be competitive. Two, on outreach, during this period we've been staffed at most 1.5 people on average over the last 6 months, and we haven't been able to visit 96 neighborhood councils. However, we have gone to 3 of the largest regional alliances, the Harbor area, of course, the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, and LA Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, or LANC. There were votes held on our outreach at 2 of those, at VANC and LANC. As I recall, although Commissioner Barrett may correct me, the vote in favor of modifying the program was 23-1 at VANC, and at LANC it was 20-something with 1 abstention. So we have done outreach. to the broader groups of neighborhood councils, but not individually.
Thank you.
I have a procedural question I'd like to direct to council that relates to the sequence of events that have led to this point. At the last meeting, we deferred this item because the ratepayer advocate hadn't had an opportunity to review it. At this meeting, we have a presentation by the ratepayer advocate that nobody has seen until now, and it's completely understandable that staff would not be in a position to respond to something they've just seen for the first time. Just speaking for myself, and in light of all of the comments that we've heard and received, I think it would be unfortunate to defer this any further, but my procedural question is there a way to approve this with the proviso that as we're going forward, Dr. Pickle's comments be reviewed by our staff and they collectively get together and see if they would propose any price revisions in light of a collaborative process, but not slow the approval up to allow that to occur?
So from an administrative standpoint, you certainly could do that. It would be more of a question of an operational standpoint from the power folks, whether they could incorporate making changes once they set the plan out already. So if it's acceptable to them, then you could instruct them to come back at a later time after considering Dr. Pickle's comments.
Well, let me just comment. The way the prior board set up this program and some of the historical significance is that the program was designed to have a clear roadmap for industry to come into Los Angeles so that they could make investments and they could see what was going to happen. They could see the first price and the second and the third and the fourth. And that was an important policy position of the prior board as well as other stakeholders. So when they approved the feed-in tariff program, it was all laid out. The whole program was laid out. And it rolls out every 6 months automatically. And the one thing that the board did ask is that without us taking action, would you come back and just review a month prior and give us the details on how the program actually works? And so each tranche we've come back and said, this is what we had 20 megawatts, we had X number subscribed, we've processed this many, and here's what we've learned in the program. So there's always been a discussion. And so really today is if you were to approve the package that we have before you, it streamlines the process, but it's already pre-approved that the next tranche is ready to go. So the 15-cent tranche can be implemented at any time as soon as we have clear guidance on the guidelines. So if the board is asking us to do that for tranche number 3 and then for tranche number 4 to have a discussion and some dialogue, we could certainly do that. If the board is asking us to stop the program today and have a discussion, that's another matter.
So the answer, the operational answer is, in light of past board actions, going ahead with tranche number 3 would seem to be appropriate, but you could take a look at the pricing between tranche number 3 and tranche number 4.
You could provide that instruction and we'd continue with the program as approved and then have a discussion at the next appropriate time.
Alternatively, you could ask them to delay for a few weeks on that tranche, because going ahead with that tranche means you waste $40 million or you miss the opportunity to procure 35 rather than 20.
Could we discuss this at the next, only delay this until the next board meeting?
Well, we can do whatever. We have delayed it from the last board meeting to this one.
Well, now we have other facts that we didn't have before.
Well, that would be up to the board.
I'm not sure. I missed something. Why would delaying it 3 or 4 weeks save $40 million? I don't understand that.
The program is set to go on automatic and release, under the existing program, they would go out for the next tranche. The next tranche is $108 million worth of commitments, and if we keep with the 20 megawatts, it's worth maybe 60. So it's instantly wasting $40 million. Or alternatively, if we reduce the pricing on it, we can go out for more. So if we want more solar without wasting money, we should probably wait and discuss this.
Well, let me just ask Mr. Webster if he feels that's an accurate presentation. As I understood Mr. Webster's comment earlier, there was some serious question about whether we would actually, whether in fact we would be not as successful because our constituent base is seeking much smaller projects than the constituent base that was described in these other utility numbers.
That is absolutely true, because in the city of Los Angeles, we are much more difficult to build in. Our properties are smaller. Our permitting process is more difficult than some of the very, very large projects that you're going to find in Edison territory, PG&E territory. So we don't know if the prices proposed will work or not. And we may not be able to know that from our perspective. It's one of those things that if the board wanted to try, we'd find out if it would work or not. And we would come and say, you know what, 8 cents did not work. And it needs to be 8.5 cents or 9 cents. And we will always be looking for the perfect price point. And this is the type of discussion we had prior to said that for 100 megawatts, let's have a clear pathway so people knew what was going to happen. And then staff proposed for the additional 50 megawatts that a competitive process was appropriate, but we structured that completely differently in the program we're about to bring to you, which was the bundled beacon for the additional 50 megawatts. So we don't know if it'll work. So that is our concern about changing midstream, because it will be very disruptive to the marketplace, because now it's stop, figure it out, 8 cents, well that doesn't work, it's 9, and so we'll have quite a bit of discussion over the next year trying to figure out a program that is going to meet the needs of Los Angeles.
If we were to approve Tranche 3 and ask you to review Dr. Pickle's suggestions before Tranche 4 was voted upon, would you more likely have more useful information at that point in time than you would 2 weeks from now?
We would clearly have more time to work with our constituents, to ask the right questions, to get more details on how the pricing needs to work for that Tranche 4 and 5.
So I think I'd probably lean in the direction that that you're going, Mr. President. I also wonder, I think it was great hearing from members of the community today, and certainly from members of the neighborhood councils. I'd be really interested, and maybe we do it at whatever that subsequent meeting is, but I'd like also something that talks about the larger program, what the benefits are to really upscaling this, job creation in Los Angeles, et cetera. So something that's not, this is very narrow focus, but I'd also like a broader outline of the bigger picture of this and the economic impacts of creating a larger one. So, and I think that could be tied with approving the third tranche today and coming back with 4 and 5 later.
Mr. President. I had some other concerns that I wanted to ask about and have you report back again. A couple of things. I wanted to thank the speakers for their excellent comments today, very helpful. And actually, one of the speakers talked about being on the rooftop and looking out and wondering where were all the solar panels, and I thought the same thing myself. And I wondered if you could speak to that, what kind of outreach is being done in downtown LA for rooftop solar panels in the commercial and the industrial buildings?
So before we launch throughout the months that we're working on this, and we've been working on outreach as far back as 2009. Staff is frequently going out to different council districts, especially when there's a blue ribbon cutting event on the fit installations that's been happening, and a lot of them have been in the underprivileged communities, and that's why this program is so popular. The net metering program, which is has about 100 megawatts of solar installed. I think we're going to see a lot more solar rooftops because of the drop in solar pricing. And yes, and I'm hearing it loud and clear that we need to do more outreach than we have been.
All right, my other, my priority, as you might know, is our customer service, which leaves a lot to be desired. And as we're promoting this program, which I wholeheartedly endorse and support and hope that we expand it, but as we're promoting it, we still have problems with people reading their bills, knowing how much power they're producing, because there is no way for them to determine that based on their bills. Some of the bills are still incorrect, and people don't know whether they should pay. When they call in, they're told, no, your bill is wrong. Should they pay it? Should they not pay it? Should they wait? They don't know what to do. And also the hotline that we've discussed, the hotline for questions and the delay, really much too long delay to get questions answered. So I'm wondering, is your department working with the customer service department and billing to try to remedy this? Because if we're going to streamline this and look at this and expand it, we have to look at it in total, not just, pricing, but what does this mean for the customers? We also have problems with the commercial people. I've gotten a call from someone who has a building, and he has been waiting months and months for the program to be turned on.
So we are working with customer service, and we believe that the issues have been fixed, but really Sharon Grove needs to provide the response. She's the one that's really working on the hotline and the billing issues. So a response from her would be most appropriate.
Well, I've spoken to her, and because this is a great concern to our ratepayers and people involved in this program. My sense is that the departments are not working together, and that's part of the problem, that each department is doing their thing, and nobody is looking at this in total.
So I'd like to make a comment.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, because what I might suggest at this point is that we agendize this as an agenda item, because you're talking about items that arise under the solar implementation program as opposed to the feed-in tariff program. So for Brown Act purposes, we should probably, if you want to hear a report on that, we should agendize that as a report item for a future meeting.
Well, isn't this part of the...
This is the feed-in tariff program,
This is a
not
different
the...
solar program.
Okay. All right, well then I would like to agendize that.
I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion of approving the modifications to the feed-in tariff program. My amendment would be that we approve Tranche 3. We ask for collaboration between the ratepayer advocate and the staff on the issues the ratepayer advocate has raised with regard to pricing between now and well in advance of a motion on Tranche 4, and that we also ask that I'd like Mr. Fleming to supplement my motion to make sure I got exactly what he wanted added to it with regard to broader solar program issues, I believe.
Right, so I'd like to hear back from staff about the expansion of the program and the economic impact. So these are administrative repairs today, but before we start talking about tranches 4 and 5, at least for the benefit of this commission, to hear back from staff about the larger solar program, the larger feed-in tariff program, the economic impacts it has on the economic benefits it has for the city.
Is there a second to the combined Levine-Fleming motion? I guess third. Okay, those in favor of the amendment those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
It's enacted with the amendment. Thank you. Thank you all. We move to item 11, initial authorization to issue up to $522 million in power system revenue bonds under resolution number 4871.
I'm Phil Leiber. I'll be saying a few words as the Chief Financial Officer on this one. This proposed resolution seeks authorization to issue up to $522 million of tax-exempt power system revenue bonds. We have been issuing bonds to fund our water and power capital projects as shown on page 3 of the board letter. Going forward, we anticipate about 2 power system offerings each and every year and at least 1 water system offering. So this will be a recurring item that you'll be seeing each year. These bonds will finance a portion of the power systems capital program for the current year. This bond offering was contemplated in the financial plan at a different amount. It was originally a higher offering in excess of $1.2 billion, but we were able to reduce the size of the offering because we had funding left over from last year's bond offering. We do have, as a late addition to the board materials, the report from the CAO recommending approval of this bond issuance. And I also should note that this is a 2-part process. This is an initial resolution, and we will come back to you at a subsequent meeting with a supplemental resolution which provides more detail about the particular transaction, particularly the underwriting team, and a little more detail in terms of the intended structure of the bond. So this is a little bit more of a general resolution that allows us just to go forward with additional planning. But we intend to have that next supplemental resolution well in advance of the intended offering date, which is April of this year.
This calls to mind the famous Everett Dirksen comment that $1 billion here and $1 billion there, and you start talking about real money.
It is absolutely real money.
Questions, comments? A motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second, those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved.
Thank you.
And I see in yellow lining that items 12 and 13 are to be taken together. I'm not quite sure why, but
Maybe it was supposed to be 11.
I think it was 11 and 12.
11 and 12. Okay, okay. That makes sense. Okay, 12, declaration of official intent to reimburse the Power Revenue Fund under Resolution 4872. Okay.
Item 12 is also of the nature you will be seeing with each and every bond offering, kind of an administrative resolution that just allows us to use the bond proceeds for expenditures 2 months prior to your action today, if you go ahead with this. Without this action, we can only use the bond proceeds prospectively. So in our financial plan, we had counted on being able to use these monies for more of our expenditures this year than just those later. So we would ask for your approval of this resolution to allow us the flexibility to apply these bond proceeds for all of our capital expenditures this year.
Questions, comments? Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's approved. With respect to item 13, there is currently a vacancy for an employer trustee on the Joint Safety Institute, and I hereby move that we adopt the resolution appointing Michael Fleming as an employer trustee to fill that vacancy. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
We thank you for taking on this role, which is very important.
That's appropriate discussion, commentary. We all thank you.
Commissioner Fleming, you may want to formally abstain from that vote.
I am abstaining, formally.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? No one? One abstention. Commissioner Fleming?
Good luck.
Good luck. Congratulations on your new appointment. Okay, we move to filed items. Monthly report, Financial Service Organization monthly reports November and December.
There are just a couple of points I'd like to make about these financial reports. I'd like to draw your attention to page 3 and page 4 of the reports, which do provide kind of an income statement for both the water and power system. And a lot of these reports are fairly routine in nature. This one does have something I think it's worth mentioning, though, that it does illustrate the revenue and collection shortfall that we have been experiencing in recent months. A later agenda item is when we'll have the opportunity to delve into that and what it is and what we're doing about it. But I did just want to note that these financial reports do show that. There's one other thing I need to mention is that ultimately we believe we have provided the service and that we are entitled to the revenue for these services, and that will be accrued or recognized in our financial statements for the whole year. That, however, hasn't been fully shown in these. So you see a larger variance because we don't do that full accrual for these monthly reports. So we think that the problem will largely be resolved by the end of the year, but you don't get that picture from looking at these.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Questions? Investment report, quarter September 30th, 2013.
As a filed item, I don't think there's too much that I need to state about this report other than our performance on our investments has been above our benchmarks, which is good. The investments are in compliance with the policy, so there's really not a lot to mention on this one.
Item 15, management reports of 4 different ones, LADWP's water loss audit and component analysis project presentation and executive summary report.
President Levine, Commissioners, I'm Teddy John. I'll be introducing this to you. We've got about a 9-slide presentation of our recently completed water loss audit and component analysis. The presentation will be given by Penny Falcon. She's the manager of Water Systems Water Conservation Group, and the project manager for this is Sophia Marcus, and she's here as well. You've probably heard that a lot of water systems get criticized for having leaky pipes and losing a lot of water, and that's just water that goes to waste. We were especially interested in taking a look at this. It's timely because of the drought, and we wanted to find out, just how tight is our system and how leaky is it. And so these things can be true. You look at Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and they've got water losses of over 40% of the water coming into their system is lost. So we wanted to take a hard look at this. And we completed this. It's our very first time the water system has done an in-depth water loss audit and component analysis, and we're going to be presenting to you the results of that analysis here this morning. Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The project took a little over a year for us to complete and involved over 200 LADWP staff members from all water system and customer service divisions. This included water utility workers, meter readers, engineers and technicians, system analysts, administration, and management. To complete the project, we applied for and received a $100,000 grant from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. We did this project to confirm our leakage rate, as Dave mentioned. LADWP is an original signatory of the California Urban Water Conservation Council, and we have been in compliance with our best management practices since 2007. This project keeps us in compliance with these BMPs and allows LADWP to remain eligible for state grants and loans. These findings from the project will also help us implement steps to further reduce our water losses and save both water and money. The basic definition of water loss is supply minus demand volumes. Basically what we're looking at is the water into the city, subtract out the water used by our customers, and that equals our lost water. The water loss audit examined the accuracy of our data, records, accounts, policies, and practices to determine supply and demand volumes. The component analysis examined reported leaks, unreported leaks, and background leaks. In addition, LADWP went above and beyond and added to the standard water loss audit by implementing bench testing of a sample of around 1,000 meters, and performing a leak detection study to identify unreported leaks in 3 system zones.
How do we learn about leaks that aren't reported?
If they're not reported, then I'll explain that later, but we have to do acoustical sounding. We have to do active leak testing. So this chart here shows an overview of the American Water Works Association water balance. LADWP's project provided an analysis of all these components. And if I start over here on the left, you can see the relationship between system input volume and authorized consumption and water losses. Authorized consumption is further broken down into both your billed metered and billed unmetered consumption. And water loss includes apparent losses such as theft and meter inaccuracies, and real losses such as leaks. All of the volumes shown in the red, included here, all of those are our non-revenue water, and I'm going to show you a graph of that on the next slide. So this graph shows how our non-revenue water has trended over the last 30 years. The green bars are basically showing you the volumes of water. Currently, we're around 27,000 acre-feet of water, but you can see at some points we've been as high as 70,000 acre-feet of water. The blue line actually tracks the percentage of non-revenue water, and the year we did the audit, we were showing 5.3%, but it has been as high as 10%. Unfortunately, we do not have time to go into all the details of the project and the tasks that were involved in this, but over the next 3 slides, I'm going to highlight one task that we did to validate our analysis of leakage in our system. This study involved leak analysis in 3 specific system zones and corresponding leak detection to identify any leaks that have not surfaced. We measured inflow, outflow, and water use to determine the leakage in each zone. The study allowed us to validate our leakage numbers. The 3 different types of zones were selected. As you can see in the Zone 517 Boyle Heights, it's our oldest pipe, and it's densely populated in the residential sectors. Zone 540 was Westwood UCLA area, and we had a lot of commercial and high-rise condos in that area. Zone 1960 is the Tujunga Upper East San Fernando Valley. It's our youngest pipe, and it's a hilly residential area. During the data collection phase of this study, LADWP staff encountered many challenges, such as dirt-filled and vandalized meters, such as the one shown in the bottom left picture, service meter tampering and theft, which required on-site meter replacements, and in the middle picture there you can see one of our staff replacing that meter, and unidentified, mislocated, or paved over surface meters, such as the one shown in the bottom right picture. This was a paved over one that we had dig up. We also encountered that fire service meters registered a significant consumption, which normally these services should register 0 and should only be used in emergency, so this indicates a potential theft. The leak detection work used acoustical equipment to detect unreported leaks in these 3 zones, as shown on the picture on the right. And President Levine, this goes to the question you asked. When we were doing this acoustical listening and active leak detection, very few leaks were found in the 3 zones. All of them are small leaks. They were not main leaks. And there's a picture on the left of a service line leak. The leak detection basically confirmed that our water system is a tight system with very low leakage. This table summarizes the American Water Works Association performance indicators for LADWP's water system. The project determined that non-revenue water percentage was about 5.2%. Out of this non-revenue total, our real losses, or basically our total system leakage, was about 3.5%. Our apparent losses registered about 1.6%, and again, this is meter inaccuracies and theft. And our unbilled uses like fire flows and system flushing accounted for 0.1%. Bottom line, we're looking good overall, but we still have some areas that we can improve to further reduce our water losses. The executive summary that was provided in your packet includes all the findings and recommendations from this project. This slide here summarizes a few of the key findings and recommendations, which include implementing an improved pressure management and active leak detection program, replacing meters that are incorrectly sized based on trends in consumption volumes, prioritizing large meter maintenance and overhaul by largest consumers, addressing internal inconsistencies found in our different LADWP databases, and improving our water supply meter accuracies. Jim McDaniel and Marty Adams have asked us to lead a water loss task force to address these findings. I would just like to personally thank all the staff that worked hard on this project. Their hard work and dedication made this project possible, and they will be continuing to work on our water loss task force. At this time, this concludes my presentation. Whoops. This concludes the presentation, and I would welcome any questions.
Thank you. Very impressive. What are we doing to move toward an active leak detection program?
Like I said, we're going to convene a water loss task force, and it's going to look at the cost effectiveness of doing those in the most prone areas that we can identify. We will be working with our water distribution and water operations divisions. We have done pilots. Water operations did do a pilot on active leak detection. And again, we're looking at the cost effectiveness. So if it's cost effective for us to do it, we will be doing it.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add to that, back in, late 80s or 90s, we actually had a crew that went around and did acoustical listening. And they got to the point that they couldn't find any leaks. And so the system was so tight that we disbanded the focus crew. So we may look at doing that again. Technology's obviously gone a long way since then. There's certain things that you can put in the pipe. There's plugs and things called like these smart sensors that you send to the pipe, and they can sometimes register leaks. A lot of it depends on changes in pipe diameter, pipe material. So there's no silver bullet yet, but we are looking at all those technologies, especially since they've come so far in the last decade. And if it looks that it's prudent to actually put a crew together and do the active monitoring, we will. We may look at putting out a contract for a vendor to do a once through the system. But it's really the leaks that don't surface. Every now and then you see a sizable leak that shows up. We see it on meters, and we have to chase it down, and we're able to do that. But but most leaks do surface, and so you do get calls, or we find them ourselves. So it's that small piece, and see what the investment is to try to find those, and if it makes sense or not.
Got it. Commissioner Barad.
It looks like there's a correlation between the age of the pipes and the leaks, based on the number of leaks in Boyle Heights. Is there any way to kind of proactively go out and look at certain areas and pipes and see whether there are leaks before it's reported?
Thank you, Joe. I was just going to ask you to come up. Joe's crew, actually, their whole division worked very hard on this study. So.
Hello. Joe Pastrita, Director of Water Distribution. We usually we track our history of main leaks. There's a lot of different factors that feed into the condition of the pipe. There's soil conditions, how corrosive the soils are, the type of pipe, and whether it's lined or unlined pipe. So there's a lot of different factors. Plus, we also have a stray current that may start impacting the pipe from other utilities. Other utilities may use an impressed current type to protect their lines, and it may cause a premature failure on our lines. But we get typically a very good service life out of the mains that were put in anywhere from 1919 to 1940, around that time. So they've done a good service life. We do have an active program for main replacement, and we've seen some dividends paid back on that. Since 2003, we are repairing 750 leaks less per year. So we've seen a significant downturn in the amount of leaks we have.
And is this for all size pipes, or?
This is for all size pipes. This includes distribution mains, service laterals, trunk lines, anything that will distribute water in our service area.
Okay, so the Coldwater Canyon, which is near where I live, that's kind of a dirty word, I guess, was very old, wasn't it?
Yes, 100 years old.
And did you go out there, was that a proactive thing that you did because it was old, or were there problems on there?
Oh, the section of main, are you talking about the rupture that happened there on Coldwater near Ventura Boulevard?
Well, there was rupture, but then there was other repairs done, I think, on
the
parts
replacement
of it.
Following that.
Were replacements?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and when that main itself, surprisingly, in that particular section we repaired, there was a hot spot on the bottom of that main that failed. But as we replaced segments of that main, when we cut into that main to tie the new one into the old, so we can do this in a matter of sequence, the section of pipe we cut out of there was in excellent shape. So certain areas in that along that corridor present themselves as hot spots. So when the backfill was done way back 100 years ago, there was basically a different technology used and the different soils and weren't taken into consideration. But today, we have our technology has improved, so we control the type of backfill and the type of impact the soil has on it.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question I noticed the American Waterworks Association was somewhat involved in terms of the providing information, or he used their methodology. I've spoken at AWWA and I'm pretty familiar with them. But how does our 3.6% loss rate compare to other waterworks systems, private or public? I know everyone's different. Everything's case specific. That's standard response. But I mean, are we on the high end? Are we on the low end? Or
we're on the low end. We're a very tight system. There's other performance indicators that the American Waterworks Association uses, like the ILI. It's an index number, and we're very low. Anybody around 1, we're at 1.26 on that, and being great is perfect is kind of a 1. So the prior standard that people used was a percentage of real losses. If you were at 10% or lower, you were considered a solid system, and we're currently showing at 5.2.
And are we in the top quartile in something?
We didn't calculate that out. There are some studies that are being done that are trying to look at everybody's system loss nationwide. But we are pretty top at the list.
He's been looking at college entrance exams.
I will tell you that when we tell most people our losses, they look at us with disbelief. So that gives an indicator they can't believe it is this good.
Exactly. A system our size and our age that we could be that good, but we are.
I have one last question. How common is it that these meters are being stolen? And what are we doing about it? I know that we have a huge division of meter readers who are supposed to go, every month, every other month to take meter readings. How have we missed this, and how big of a problem is it?
Well, let me make sure I get the question right. Are you saying that the theft from meter, or just the theft of the meter itself, Commissioner?
Perhaps you could address both.
Okay. In fact, I have someone that could probably speak. He's our water utility superintendent over metering, and he deals directly with that.
John Cox, manager of meter service. The theft of the physical meter itself is pretty rare. It does happen. They go out there and they'll cut it out. They get scrap money off of the brass when they trade it in. So that does happen, but that's fairly rare. The theft from the meter on the water, we found during the survey that a lot of fire services were being tapped into and water was being stolen. Those meters aren't read. The fire services, they just pay a flat fee. So that's one of the big issues we had brought it up before, thinking that there was an issue, finding out that it's a lot bigger than we had thought. And it's happening in more centralized areas of the city. One of those service areas hardly had any, but then the other ones had a lot. So it just depends on where they are in the city. We are looking at a program where we're going to start reading those meters so we can try and capture some of that.
And also to speak to that as well, the other piece of it was on some of the residential and commercial meters. When we went out and did this specific project, we actually read the meters on Sundays. A normal metering schedule, as we understand it, is Monday through Saturday because of the amount of staff that they have and how many meters they need to read. And so when we were out there on Sundays, the customers, in some respects, I guess they were not expecting us to be there. And we did find some instances of tampering that they didn't think that we were going to be there on a Sunday, and so that's when they went out and kind of messed with the meters. And so by doing that, basically our customer services division decided after this project that they might look at doing some odd days to go out and do some meter reading to follow up with that and see if they could find more of these type of instances of tampering with the meters.
We have found some of them, they can actually remove the register off the meters, and that's just the way the meters are designed and built. We've reached out to the manufacturers now to try to ask them to design a meter that the register is fully encased in the meter so that they can't remove it. Because right now it could be a set screw or a little push pin is all they can remove it. And I've reached out to a few other utilities. They're not having the same problems of theft that we are. So it's something that seems to be happening here. The manufacturers weren't getting any questions from other utilities asking about that. People seem to be leaving them alone in other areas, but we're finding here that they're not. And I get probably 10 or so a day right now of we're finding the registers were off when the meter reader got there. We're going out there the next day or within a couple days and changing those so that the customers will stop tampering with them.
John, would you just let us know about the meter change-out program so we have accurate meter readings and accurate billing for the water?
Right now, we're changing out about 25,000 meters a year, and we're focusing on stuck defective meters, and that number is at a historic low. It's never been that low before. This morning it was 217 meters. So we have very few stuck defectives. And then our change-out program is we're focusing on the oldest meters that we have in the system, or the Rockwell meters, which the water loss audit recognized that the Rockwells had the most inaccuracies. They were dropping off quicker than the Neptunes or the Badgers that we have in the system. So we're focusing on the oldest meters and the Rockwell meters as part of our change-out program.
And I'm sorry, the other utilities that those that have not been experiencing the theft issues that we have, what meters are they using?
Same thing. Neptune and Badger are two of the biggest ones in the industry right now, and they're all using those same ones. There's a few that are using the others, but for the most part they're using that. If I go and I look at the Hershey's or the Claras, the other companies that do have water meters as well, they have the same mechanism holding the register on. It's just a set screw or a push pin, and they're relatively easy to remove. So they're all looking at, based on our recommendations and our questions, they're all looking at other ways. If we do go to a different meter technology, we get away from the positive displacement, it's a lot more expensive meter, but then the register is encased in the meter. There is a more expensive technology that we could go to.
I would think since we're committed to making these large purchases annually, that the manufacturer would be incentivized to engineer something that works for us and that would be cost effective.
Yes. Well, as I said, we have reached out to them to do that for us, and they're looking at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Revenue collection.
Okay. I'm Phil Leiber. I'll offer some comments on this item, and Sharon Grove will also be speaking on the action plan. So I'm just going to talk about the problem that we've seen. We are seeing an undercollection of our revenue this year. Year to date, we would have expected to collect about $3.4 billion. We've only collected about $3.1 billion. So there's $300 million, a fairly sizable amount, that remains uncollected for two reasons. One is people have been slow in paying their bills. Our collections effort has been suspended. And two, we have had some delays in actually issuing the bills. So Sharon will shed more light on that, but about 91% is where our collections stand. It has varied quite a bit by month and by service. So on some of the services, such as water, we're pretty close to where we should be at about 97%. Other services, such as power, we're falling quite a bit further behind. We're only at about 89% of where we should be. There are also consequences to the city's collections, the utility users tax. That's running at about 94% of plan. So they are asking us about that. And on this whole topic, we're going to be presenting to the Energy and Environment Committee tomorrow. We wanted to give you a briefing on this as well. So just to talk a little bit further about one of the services on the power side, we're about $223 million short of expectations for revenues from July through January. And there are always some variances from your plan. Some of it's just attributable to different volumes. But that does not seem to be the largest driver here. Our energy volumes were pretty close to expectations, just about 1% off. So most of this problem does seem to be attributable to collections and delayed bills. And there are always some variances by month, but the variances seem to have grown a little bit larger after the implementation of the new system in September. How have we been dealing with this from a financial standpoint so far? We have been managing it. And we've been doing that through two vehicles. One is our revenues are down, but our spending is similarly down. And on balance, things are pretty much netting out. For power, we're about $426 million under budget, and for water, we're about $100 million under budget. So altogether, $526 million below expectations on spending. So that has been more than enough to offset the...
Can we sustain that?
That won't go on forever. Typically in the year we're a little slower in our spending, and it typically picks up in the later months, and we expect that that will be the case this year as well. We have just asked all of our divisions to give us an update on their spending plan, and we have received those numbers, and they tell us that by year end they'll still be below plan, but not as much as they are today. So that's helped, and then we've also had very significant cash reserves. So we have not had any kind of an issue where we're running short of cash. On the power system, we target holding a minimum of $300 million in cash. Right now, as of the end of January, we had $834 million. So we're in no danger of running out of cash. That said, this is an issue that does need to get resolved. Ms. Grove will talk about her plans to make that happen. There was a council motion on this topic requesting us to frame the issue, what we're doing about it, and also talk about the impact on our capital spending program. And we do have mandates to be met, and the question arises, does this delay in spending mean we're not going to meet our mandates? And the answer there is no. We do have enough flexibility on our timelines. We will continue to be on track to meet the RPS mandate, continue to be on track to meet the once-through cooling elimination requirement. Some of the more discretionary funding programs, such as the power reliability program, where we do need to upgrade our aging infrastructure, we have a little more latitude as to when that has to be done. So it's running a little behind, but we do expect to catch up. One issue that was of great import to the city was that the city's general fund does depend on certain revenues coming from water and power, so the utility users tax and the power system transfer. On the utility users tax, we're about $13 million behind where we should be in getting those funds to the city, and that is due again to the fact that people haven't paid their bills and the bills haven't been going out. When that money comes in, the city will get the utility users tax. The only issue at this point is it may be delayed, and if it is delayed beyond this fiscal year, that could have some other complications. So the plan is to get those revenues in as quickly as possible, and again, Sharon will talk about that. Nothing that we're seeing here today about this issue leads us to believe that this will have any impact on the city transfer. So this board did approve that transfer for this fiscal year. That was based on last year's financial results. That will not be impacted at all, nor will the transfer that we will make next year based on this year's fiscal results. There are a number of provisions that allow us to recognize that revenue even if it's delayed in coming in. So our assessment is that there will be no effect on the city transfer as well. And that is the message that we will deliver to Yini tomorrow. But with that, I'll turn it over to Sharon to talk about her extensive efforts to get this issue corrected as quickly as possible.
Commissioners, I think that was the right question. Can we sustain this? And you know, we in the meter to cash arena and the customer service division have no intention of having to have that question be asked further than the next 4 to 6 months. We have a plan. We have 3 different things that we're contending with: resources, and putting collections back into an automated state, and continuing to work down our delayed bills. So let me just start with resources. We have added 49 actually new customer service representatives last week. They are in training. We expect that training to be completed within the next 10 to 12 weeks. We've added 21 meter readers, and we are on track to add 50 more meter readers. So we have plans in place and are working to get more resources on board, a total of 100+ resources in the customer service division in the two key areas, which is our call center and on the streets, reading meters. The second thing are the collections. We have continued to address very chronic late payers, even with the November 22nd action by the City Council, because we were able to still continue to manually address some of the biggest chronic late payers. However, with some guidance in the executive team, we have also, as of tomorrow, we're going to re-automate, starting tomorrow, collections for commercial customers. And we're going to do these, I was listening to the tranches, this expression, we're really doing the same type of a thing here. We're going to turn tomorrow, the collections are going to turn on for commercial customers that owe us over $10,000 that's older than 90 days old. And we'll continue to work through multi-residential, and then we'll start going to that owe us less money for 60 days old. So we'll start really peeling back all of that bad debt from the multi-residential and the commercial class of customer. As of this time, we're going to wait to see when we'll turn on automated residential collections. The purpose being we would like to wait till we have those 50 customer service representatives on the telephones before we really add significant numbers of folks calling up to make payment arrangements or pay their bill, that type of thing. So we're really attacking the big money first with the fewest amount of customers and, of course, the least impact on our residential customers. So that's the collections plan. It's actually beginning in an automated fashion tomorrow. The billing workdown plan, at its peak late last year, we had about 95,000 delayed bills. Today, the number sits at approximately 65,000 delayed bills. Of course, every day, a couple thousand delayed bills come into the queue and a couple thousand come out of the queue. So they're never the same delayed bills. The plan in place, it's been going down week after week. The plan in place is to have those delayed bills cut in half by September of 2014. So we have a specific workdown plan for that. Once we get to about that half of 65,000 to 30 to 35,000 range, as long as we bill customers before their next cycle date, then we'll really be in a steady state best practice situation. The fact remains, if your bill gets kicked out of the system because the meter reading looks funny, or there's no consumption on your meter, or there's some sort of a meter that the system can't read, then we need to investigate that, but we should never investigate that and take longer than one billing cycle. So what utilities do is they make sure that that next bill, when the next bill is ready to go out, that bill gets rendered. So we're really looking at moving from 65,000 to get it cut in half by September of 2014. So those are the three issues we're working on. We're making great progress. I know there's a lot of noise around it, and people here are being very supportive and helping to try to get the message across, because I think it's not really an easy message. I know Phil's had to work on the same thing, really trying to describe the dollars and cents that are attached to these plans. But I feel very confident, be willing to come up at any time, either en masse or individually talk to the board about these workdown plans.
Sorry. Are you still doing the estimated readings? And if you are you planning on stopping that? And how does that impact the collections?
We are absolutely doing estimated readings above and beyond normal. Right now, we are estimating about 17% of our bills. That is well beyond normal. When we're reading the meters with full staff, we're able to have less than 5% of our bills estimated. So that's a big concern for us, and that's why we are bringing on the 50 new meter readers. Right now we have, it's a long lead time. We're right about ready to get a new civil service meter reading list so we can really bring on those meter readers permanently. But there's a little bit of a delay, and we expect that to start happening in 60 days when we can bring our first meter readers on. So you're absolutely right. We are estimating a considerable higher percentage of our bills than we would in a steady state situation.
And that's because you don't have the bodies to go.
Correct.
Read. And when you say no consumption, how can somebody, say someone in a single family home, a family, have no consumption?
That would be, there's a defective meter. So what would happen, we have the system can tell us if we know there's an active account, but we see that a meter reader went out and there was no change in the meter dial from one read to the next read, and then we know that something's wrong with that meter, and then we issue a service order to have somebody investigate and make a meter exchange.
Okay, because I guess if it's 0 this time, then the bill is going to be really big the next time.
Right. Right. We try to address those very quickly because you're absolutely right.
I had a couple of comments because this segues with what I talked about earlier. The company is, and thank you for being responsive to this company that made the inquiry, but their bill was $126,000. And when I hear that we have $220 million that we're behind on paying, this company hadn't been billed for 6 months. And I just don't think it's acceptable for us to set a standard of going down from $65,000 to $30,000. It should be $65,000 to $1,000. I just don't think that. I guess what I'm trying to understand is why are we setting the bar so low for ourselves in terms of getting a problem taken care of that no business would allow to happen? And do you need more resources to get this done? How many of those 65,000 are commercial? How many are residential? And how many other companies are in a similar position as this company that just by happenstance was called to my attention a couple of weeks ago? We got it fixed, but how many other companies are in that position? It seems like, and then lastly, are we reaching out to these 65,000, especially the big money ones, and saying, your bill should probably be this, can we set something up? I mean, is there any effort being made to generate cash off of these customers that aren't being billed for because our billing system isn't working?
Those are all good questions and comments. To clarify, there are a group of that 65,000 customers that haven't been billed for maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, maybe 3 months. A delayed bill starts getting counted the day you leave the billing window. So there's also a significant portion of those bills that have billed within the last billing cycle. We have about 2,000 of those billing exceptions that come out every single batch day. We have so basically 2,000 come in a day, but 2,000 leave a day. So we do have a chunk of those bills that really haven't been delayed more than 1 to 2 cycles, which would be 30 to 60 days. But there are some outliers that have significant delays. So one of the when that happens, we do reach out individually to customers and work through payment plans. What you're asking is, can we be more proactive? And I think the answer is yes. And so I think what we need to do is go back to that list, look at the customers that have been delayed for an extensive period of time, and really proactively reach out to them.
And how does that happen? Do you need more resources to do that? I guess I've heard that. We've heard and I feel the pain of what your job is in terms of trying to implement this billing system. But I wish that we had more specifics in terms of how we can set the bar higher here. Instead, I think to say that we're going to go down from 65,000 to 30,000 is when you have 30,000 that might be in the same position as a company, and that's $126,000 over 6 months, and just add the numbers up. It seems like a lot of money that we're letting other people play with, letting our customers have, when we could be working something out to try to get in the door.
Right. the goal is to have that, when that 35,000 number or the 30,000 number, the goal is that all those are all customers that have been billed that haven't been billed since just the last bill cycle. So, it's probably, for me, just saying 35,000 is being oversimplistic. The goal really is to have those 35,000 accounts that if they're delayed, they've only been delayed within the last cycle. And so it really is to not ever have that situation, have that be a very, very unique situation where someone's been delayed longer than one bill cycle. And then your question as would we require extra staff? I think yes, we would. Right now we're using the staff that we will be employing that we're turning collections back on. That staff right now is proactively calling customers that have received, that right before they are about to receive a large bill, when we're able to render the bill, we're calling those customers, letting them know there's a bill in the mail, that here's the number, we can make payment arrangements, please call us, and then we have a customer letter attached to the bill. And these are bills, if they have gone out over 99 plus days, we will proactively call customers. But I think what your question and comment is, let's get even further ahead of it and call customers when even if we haven't rendered the bill yet. And so that would take additional staff, but I think that's an appropriate customer outreach.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing from manufacturers, and I represent a lot of manufacturers in this city, I've done it for the past 25 years, they don't hear from DWP except for their bill. And I think they'd like to hear, I think they'd be much better partners with the city in terms of providing the jobs that they do, and I think that, so I'd be interested in hearing some type of follow-up on this.
Okay, absolutely.
Question about go back to the staffing for a second, and can you just walk us through how many new bodies you're getting, how many you really want, what the bottleneck is to getting you more of the staff that you need to speed up some of the things that the other commissioners have talked about, and how we might be able to be helpful to you in order to get those folks in.
Well, some of the pain point, and I think it's been pretty well vetted, but some of the pain point is, the lifeblood of a customer service organization are their meter readers and their customer service reps. We have had an expired civil service list since May for both of those customer classes. So in May of 2013, the customer service representative list expired and the meter reading list expired, and we haven't been able to hire any permanent staff in those two different jobs since then. We have worked tenaciously. We have people full-time on it, but to get it through all of the different tasks and to get it all the way through the personnel office takes a very long time. In fact, we don't think we'll have the customer service list until June 1st. And so in the interim, we hired 50 emergency customer service representatives. And in the next 60 days, we will have the meter reader civil service list ready, and then we could start hiring and ramping up with permanent meter readers. So that's just an example of how the difficulty is to try to keep these lists current under the civil service types of procedures and rules to keep the lists active. We feel that once we have 50 new meter readers, right now we have a 25 meter reader gap a day. So we have about 100 meter readers that show up to work, and we have 120 to 125 routes that we have to read every day. And so those routes aren't getting read. When we have those meter readers on staff, we haven't been filling field service jobs, because if we fill field service jobs, they'll drain more meter readers. And so we have to overhire meter readers, and this is pretty typical in the industry. You overhire meter readers to make sure that you always have enough. So we do feel that the 50 meter readers will get us to a state where we will then can continue to hire ahead of plan. The customer service representatives right now, we know our service levels aren't acceptable. We have continued to do things to help the service level, but without additional staff, internal or external, to really hit those peak times for customers, it's going to be tough. Can I tell you the exact amount now? No, because right now we have a 3-month call center assessment going on, and for an example, one of the immediate things that they saw in our call center is we are open 105 hours a week for non-emergency calls. We're open 24/7 for emergency calls, but for 105 hours a week, it's way outside any industry standard. They said industry standard is anywhere between 50 and 70 hours. And so there's a situation where they really feel we could better utilize our staff by bringing them into the hours that customers really are going to call. And I said, well, don't more calls just really come in during that same time? They said, no, customers will then self-serve. We've gotten very high marks on our ledwp.com, so we have really good self-serve options for customers. They said your self-serve channels go up 5 to 10% once you move to a more normalized call center hour schedule. So that's a roundabout way of saying I'm not sure I can answer at this time how many more customer service reps I would need beyond the 50 until we make some more operational adjustments to really align with good customer service.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Tough job. Sodexo, Mr. Adams.
Just real briefly, just prior to the board meeting this morning, the City Council declined to approve the amendment that was sent down to extend the existing contract. So staff is looking now at what the options are, and we plan to bring you a revised option at the next board meeting.
I'd just like to mention for the record that it's come to my attention that in addition to all of the other reasons why I want to keep the cafeteria open, it's highly relevant for our emergency preparedness of the building to keep that cafeteria open. It's a factor that needs to be included in the consideration.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it is a critical facility for the city services that we maintain our ability to operate here at this location.
So just a question. So what is it you'll be bringing back to us next?
We're looking at options to move ahead to try to reestablish food service as quickly as possible. So we'll look and see if there's any additional amendments or what other choices we have. We'll try to bring something next board meeting to.
That'll be something fairly concrete, right? I mean, as opposed to.
Ideally, yes.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Yes, that's the goal.
Thank you.
Filing renewable portfolio standard projects update.
Howard, fill them in on the.
Randy, you want to tell us about the January 2014 filing?
So Randy Howard, Power System Planning and Development. This is just your monthly filing, just giving you an update on what's going on in your RPS status. Usually we just file the report. There's really no outstanding issues going on. Things are proceeding. We continue with negotiations on a number of projects. This just gives you an update of those activities.
Thank you. Council, you want to tell us what we're going to do in tell the world what we're going to do in closed session?
No, I will not tell. We're going to go into closed session, and if there are any reportable actions to come out of closed session, we will report those actions in accordance with Section 549571 of the California Government Code.
Let me ask you one other question. I know that we've determined that our next meeting will be a special session rather than a regular session. It'll be on March 6th at 10 o'clock. Do we need to notice that in any fashion?
Yeah, we'll notice that at the appropriate time.
Okay. So with that, we will move into closed session.
Closed session. Closed session.